Hello, I'm the Dark Master and welcome back to my LEGO reviews. For today's video, we shall be reviewing set number 76940, T-Rex Dinosaur Fossil Exhibitation, from the Camp Cretaceous sub-theme of the LEGO Jurassic World theme. It comes with 198 pieces in 4 bags, a sticker sheet, 2 minifigures, a dinosaur, and 1 fossil. As always, let us start with the figures. From left to right, we have Owen, Grady, and Darius Baumann. Let us start with Owen Grady, played by the highly overrated Chris Pratt, in what is his 3rd time being in LEGO form. Previously having played Emmett in the LEGO Movie and Star-Lord in LEGO Guardians of the Galaxy. From my research, this figure is disliked because it is in so many sets to the point of absurdity, according to many LEGO Dino fans. But since this is my first and only set from this theme, I will be judging this figure on its own merits. Starting from the top, we see a mop of light brown hair, which is well molded. Going to the head, we see Owen Grady has a double-sided face. One is a determined smile, the other is a greatly annoyed scowl. The print is fine, all the sideburns and stubble are pretty accurate to how he looks in the movie. But is it just me, or does the mustache look kind of off? I really think it's because he lacks a nose, so having a mustache just looks kind of weird. Going down to the torso, we see he has a pale blue shirt covered by a nicely detailed brown jacket. It gives off the cramped look, and the back print is much more simplistic and utilitarian, but it works. His arms are light blue, just like his shirt, and has flesh-colored hands. Perfectly utilitarian overall. Going down to his legs, they are molded in dark blue and have some minor leg printing meant to represent a gun holster on one side and a pocket on the other side. Overall, this is a generic but serviceable figure. It's nothing special, but it's also not particularly bad. Let's go to the second figure, Darius Baumann. Darius Baumann is from the CGI TV show Camp Cretaceous on Netflix. I haven't personally watched it, so I can't give an in-depth opinion, but the critics have said that it is surprisingly dark, but otherwise merely passable in the grand scheme of things. This is the head character from that show. So, starting with the hair, he has some sort of short afro-style hairpiece, which is fine, but nothing noteworthy. Going down to his black face, we see on one side he has a confident smile, while the second face is him being scared. Fine, but it really could just be any generic black guy. There's nothing really about it that makes him look like who he's supposed to be. Going down to the torso, we see he has a yellow rain jacket and a dino tooth chain. A very good print, if I'm being honest, but pretty simplistic with all the wrinkles and pockets. The back print is again simplistic and utilitarian in nature, where we see the hood of the rain jacket and more wrinkles. His arms are yellow and he has brown hands, perfectly utilitarian. His pants are light blue color and lack printing overall. As a figure, it is nothing really special, to be honest. I mean, it's utilitarian and fits the role of generic black guy, but, aside from that, there really isn't anything particularly special about this figure. The third individual in the set is not technically a minifigure, but like the animals in LEGO Minecraft, I've decided to be covering it at this point regardless. This is a baby Triceratops. Right off the bat, this is adorable and seems reasonably sized for what it's meant to be. This isn't the first time we've seen this type of animal. Before, he was molded in olive green and tan. I actually kind of like the baby blue here. I think it looks better. And overall, it's a good remold. And if you have both, I'm sure you'll enjoy the recolor. As much as this little animal is adorable, it's quite frankly non actionable. In the sense that it lacks any articulation and is really much more like a Duplo piece. There is a brick that can be removed to set a figure upon its back, but it's not really all that useful or play functiony regardless of that. The sticker sheet of the set has really only two stickers on it, but they are genuinely pretty good and actually improve the set, so I recommend not leaving them off unless you really hate stickers. In terms of pieces, we've got quite a good selection with numerous flat plates in numerous colors and a great deal of tan stuff. Of note to me is the egg piece and the head piece of the skeleton. But what about what those pieces build? How is the build itself? There are three builds in the set, so let's start with the smallest and go upwards. First, we have this sort of educational little stand. It has these pieces on the bottom where it can be easily rolled around. Moving up, we see a trio of ancient objects, a ginkgo leaf, which is a plant from the age of dinosaurs, a fossilized tooth, and a fossilized egg. Going up, we see the first sticker, which has a diagram of the skull of the T Rex. Yeah, it's grossly simplified, but it still looks awesome. On the top, there is this lamp that can be rotated up and down and left to right. Overall, this is a nice little build, despite not being the main focus of the set. The second build is much flatter, being a pedestal slash stand for the skeleton. It is an extremely basic utilitarian build with only two things of note. That being the sort of gated look on the bottom and this cute little sign that uses the second sticker. And it looks pretty accurate for what you would see in a museum. It's pretty good print overall. It can be articulated up and down. Otherwise, this is just a pretty worthless utilitarian generic build. It's really nothing special. But all that I've described is secondary to the main focus of the set, this being the T Rex skeleton. Let's do this like we do in the minifigures and start with the head and move our way down. So, this head mold is clearly the same piece used on living T Rexes and is not brick built and merely being reused for this skeleton. And I think it goes without saying this is extremely inaccurate. I'm sure paleontologists are spinning in their chairs just looking at this. But you have to remember that this is Lego and they've always simplified everything. Why do you think there are no feathers on dinosaurs? Because that would be expensive as heck to mold. So you gotta be able to look past that. It can open its mouth up, and in there we see a tongue that is tan. That is one little detail that does irk me. He can rotate the head side to side and point it up or down. I think it's a really cool print and can easily be used in other contexts. Maybe someone builds a far more realistic skeleton and decides to put this on there. Going to the front of the torso, we see the tiny pairs of short little arms that the T Rex is famous for. These can be hinged up and down and have some sort of just adorable look to it. I don't know. Just the idea of having these really small arms in such a big animal is kind of humorous. Granted, these aren't the smallest arms in all dinosaur history, but. Going further, we see there is a rib cage with two long ribs and a third short one. I think adding one more rib could have easily made this more accurate and make it look better. On the back, we see a series of spikes meant to represent the vertebrae, and they are decently fine. What is not fine, however, is this ugly gap that is easily seen even when the ribs are put down. It's just terrible. I mean, look at that. That's gappy as heck. Going down to the legs, we see a pair of what I can only describe as fossilized thunder thighs. I mean, seriously, what are these meant to be here? They look terrible regardless of what they're meant to be. The leg is just so blocky and ugly, and the feet are just atrocious. I mean, look at that piece. Why is that brown and not black? You could have easily replaced that hinge piece with stuff. Ugh. The legs can be articulated in two places, one on the thigh, the other at the ankle, back and forth. Continuing down, we see his tail, which consists of 5 segments. Each is slightly different. The first segment is the largest, with a black hinge piece that rotates up and down in a richeted manner. It is unfortunately so large that it hampers the articulation of the second segment. Indeed, the second segment can only be articulated a little bit downwards, but mostly just upwards. The third segment has more on it, which is could easily have been white. Like, why not just make these pieces white? The fourth segment lacks any dark tan pieces and is even smaller than that. The fifth and final segment has a really short slope piece and is quite frankly forgettable, if we're being honest. The skeleton can either be displayed on its own or put on top of the stand I discussed earlier. So, what are my final thoughts on this set? Well, firstly, the minifigures are generic and boring. The baby Triceratops is adorable, but practically has no play value. The side builds are either utilitarian or only mildly charming. The skeleton has an interesting head, but the rest of the build is gappy and just bad in some places. I understand the limitations of Lego because they need to handle price and part count, but still, this is just terrible. All in all, this is all on top of the fact that this is a licensed set that poisons Lego's own individual brands by killing off in house IPs. Overall, I cannot recommend this set, especially for the price it goes for, unless you really like Lego Dinosaurs or Lego Jurassic World. Or you're a completionist and you just want to get like all the dinosaur sets. I'm the Dark Master, and join me next time on my LEGO reviews. Have a great day.